Back to the member from Halton.
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to lead off the third reading debate of Bill 21, our government's proposed Safeguarding Healthcare Integrity Act 2014, that was introduced on July 22, 2014. This legislation, if passed, would combine our government's actions to prohibit compensation to blood and plasma donors with the regulation of hospital pharmacies and other actions to strengthen oversight and improve patient safety. I'll start with the regulation of hospital pharmacies and then move on to blood donation. This part of the bill, if passed, would amend the Drug and Pharmacies Regulation Act so that the Ontario College of Pharmacists can inspect and license all hospital pharmacies operating in Ontario. Additionally, amendments would be made to the Regulated Health Professions Act 1991 and the Public Hospitals Act to enhance the sharing of information among health system partners and strengthen the oversight of healthcare practitioners. The second part of the bill relates to our government's actions to prohibit compensation to blood and plasma donors in Ontario. Every year, thousands of Ontarians voluntarily give blood and plasma to help others to survive accidents, surgery, or life-threatening conditions. This is a system that has been managed by Canadian Blood Services, a public, not-for-profit organization for more than 15 years. And our government is taking steps to protect the integrity of our national public blood donation system. As a first step, we amended 2 existing regulations under the Laboratory and Specimen Collection Centre Licensing Act to strengthen licensing requirements and prohibit payment to donors for their blood or plasma. And as a second step, this legislation includes a revised version of the previously introduced Voluntary Blood Donations Act 2014, which, if enacted, would clearly and unequivocally prohibit paying people for blood and plasma donations. It's important to note that Canadian Blood Services and its donors would be exempt from these prohibitions so that CBS is not prevented from paying donors in Ontario if it deems such a measure to be necessary. Moreover, researchers would be exempt from the prohibition against paying for blood donations when it is being used exclusively for research purposes. The proposed legislation would also strengthen our regulatory enforcement tools so that we can take swift and decisive action in case of violations. This is very important. Let me be clear. This decision to prohibit payment for blood or plasma donations will in no way reduce the supply or availability of blood or blood products for Ontarians, but it will protect the integrity of our current blood donation system, a system that works. Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud of our voluntary life-saving blood donation system, and I am also proud of the quality care health professionals in Ontario provide to patients every day. I encourage all Ontarians to donate blood if they are able to do so. I have full confidence in Canada's national blood system, and I know that Canadian Blood Services has the ability to successfully manage the blood and blood products supply for Ontarians. I'd like to thank our valued partners for their support on all parts of this legislation. Speaker, I am confident that all members can support this proposed legislation. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, it is now an honour for me to give my inaugural speech in this legislature. It's a privilege to join all the MPPs before me who have stood up in this great House to give their addresses. I want to do 3 things in this speech, Mr. Speaker. I want to tell you about my path to get here, to show what has prepared me to serve the people of Ontario in Kathleen Wynne's government. I believe we are entering a new period of openness, prosperity, and equality in Ontario, and I am proud to be a part of it. I want to outline my service goals for Ontario and for my riding of Halton. This is the best province in the best country in the world. And, if I may say, Mr. Speaker, Halton is the best riding in the best province and the best country in the world. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I would also like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to the many people who have helped me arrive at this point in my life. Mr. Speaker, I truly believe that who we are and where we come from is the force that drives us forward. We are our history, and history must shape the future. Let me tell you about my history and my path. It is a path that has given me the tools and the courage to meet the challenges of public life and turn them into opportunities for everyone. It is a path that has given me great respect for the value of education. And it is a path that has instilled in me the belief in public service and the dedication, the strong work ethic, and the understanding I need to serve the people in my riding of Halton and in Ontario. My path has taught me about opportunity, education, and service. You see, I was born in Durban, South Africa, under apartheid. To me, as a child, that meant going to a restaurant and being asked to leave because of the color of my skin. It meant going to a fair and not being able to ride on a Ferris wheel because of the color of my skin. And it meant going to a park and not being able to sit on a bench or swim in the ocean because of the color of my skin. These are small things in a way, the small daily oppressions of a vicious system. But they add up to something very big, the attempt to define someone as inferior, subordinate, and unworthy. I know what it feels like to be oppressed, belittled, and ashamed. I know what it feels like to want a voice, but to be denied and unheard. These are the real-life lessons I had to learn at a young age. It's a feeling that children nowhere should have to endure. Living under apartheid taught me that justice, democracy, and opportunity are worth fighting for. It also taught me that governments should work for people, not against them. So that is why opportunity for all is an important part of what I want to accomplish for Ontario and for Halton. As a young girl, I immigrated with my family to a small town in Alberta, Canada. My parents chose Canada. They saw the opportunity for a new and better life in Canada, where human rights are protected, where democracy is valued, and where we could pursue our dreams. Both of my parents were educators. My father was a teacher, then a high school principal, and finally a superintendent of schools. My mother taught for more than 40 years. In fact, she was eventually voted one of the 100 most memorable teachers in the 100-year history of the Alberta Teachers Association. Wow. An important part of the dream my parents pursued in Canada was the education of young people, giving them the tools and helping shape their values to build a future for themselves and their community. That is why I believe a quality education is one of the most important gifts we can give our children. It is one of the only things we can give our kids that can't be taken away. It will pull them up regardless of their situation. With my belief in education and my democratic concerns, I studied political science at the University of Lethbridge, earning a Bachelor of Arts. Following that, I went to graduate work and studied graduate work in political science at the University of Alberta and Queen's University. I also met and married my husband at university, and we moved briefly to the US, where I began my career in broadcast journalism, with a sense of mission, I might add. I believe truth, facts, and a well-informed public is the best guarantor we have of a strong democracy. My first positions were at NBC and PBS stations in Albany, New York. When we moved back to Ontario, I joined CBC Ottawa as a reporter, eventually becoming an anchor for national newscasts as CBC Newsworld, Newsworld International, and National Radio News. I also hosted and produced a show on environmental issues, an education show at TVO, as well as anchoring and producing a nightly newscast at Omni Television, where I met my friends MPP Laura Albanese, and Associate Minister Deepika Damola. I also wound up anchoring at CTV Newsnet as a national news anchor. I interviewed prime ministers, premiers, world leaders, actors, musicians, the head sommelier at the Trianon Palace, even suspected terrorists, and a real pirate. I got to talk to people when they were experiencing some of the most challenging times of their lives, as bombs dropped, as they climbed Mount Everest, and as they mourned the loss of loved ones, princesses, popes, and innocents. I learned firsthand about some of the serious challenges people face on a daily basis in the world and in our province. I have always believed in the importance of public service, and my career as a journalist eventually showed me that reporting was not enough for me. I learned about the problems, but I wanted to help. That is the path that brought me here, Mr. Speaker, a path that has deeply instilled in me the values of opportunity, education, and service. It is also a path that has wound through my community, my riding, my Halton, for more than 20 years now. It is our home. Our children were born there. We have raised them there. We have been actively involved in this vibrant, growing community. One of our first engagements in public life was helping to fight against the closure of a local school. We were successful. That is why I am thrilled to be here today, representing Halton as the elected member of Provincial Parliament. Halton is my home, and as Halton's new voice at Queen's Park, I've been busy. Soon after the 41st Parliament of Ontario began sitting, I was named the Parliamentary Assistant to the Honourable Dr. Eric Hoskins, Minister of Health and Long-Term Care. It is a great honour and privilege to work with Dr. Hoskins on such an important portfolio. I'm especially pleased to be working on the province's first ever strategy for dementia and Alzheimer's. I know the Thank you. I'm proud of that. I know the devastation these conditions can have on individuals and families. My own family suffered through it with my father-in-law for years. As Halton's voice at Queen's Park, I will work hard on implementing my vision for our community. It's a vision born out of the personal and professional experiences I've gained throughout my life, but it also comes from my years of visiting local shops, meeting neighbours on the street, and watching our young people grow and flourish as they prepare to become tomorrow's leaders. I want to help create a place in which local leaders at all levels work together to make Halton a place where residents have the pride and comfort of knowing they live in a place where the opportunities for success are without limit. To do that, we need to make sure that jobs and the economy remain a top priority. I want to re-establish a strong working relationship between the Ontario government and our local business community. Now, I also know many of my constituents have serious concerns about transportation. Insufficient transit systems not only make it harder for us to get to our places of work, but they take away from the time we could be spending and enjoying our families. That's why we need to keep investing in roads and bridges to make sure they're safe and able to handle the rigors of daily traffic. And we need public transit to be affordable, convenient, and reliable. I also want to expand local healthcare services so that we can continue to provide the people of Halton with top-tier healthcare. And I want to make sure we're investing in our children and giving them the best education we possibly can. I told you how I came from a family of educators, Mr. Speaker. You've heard about my parents. This tradition has continued. My husband is a professor at the local university, and I have taught at Regional College myself. Even our teenage daughter teaches dance to little ones. Coming from this tradition of education, I want to make sure that we continue to support the world-class education system in this province and in Halton, so that our schools continue to turn out bright, innovative, and skilled graduates. These are just some of the things I want my public service to focus on over the next 4 years. These are the things that I am passionate about. These are my values. They come from my history, my path from South Africa and oppression, to Canada and freedom, to Ontario and opportunity, to Halton and community, and now to here with all of you in Queen's Park. But of course, Mr. Speaker, I did not travel this path on my own. None of us can make it this far without the love and support and belief of others, Mr. Speaker. So now, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to take up my final moments to give my thanks to those who have been with me on this journey. To my parents, Pixie and Larry, and my parents by marriage, Dorothea and her late husband, Tommy, and my late stepdad, Barry. Thank you for your love and for believing in me. We are nothing without our parents. To my Liberal family, former MPP Walt Elliott and his wife Anne, who helped me from the beginning. And to our amazing PLA, Jerry, Yvonne, Ken, Jillian, Dr. Rick, Beth, Martin, Allison, George, Rob, Veronica, Bob, Brian, Alex, and too many more to mention. Thank you for your tireless efforts and hard work. To my fantastic campaign team, Jason, Maura, Mike, Brian, and Jonathan, you walked miles with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And a big thank you also to Pat Sabara, David Hurley, Carol Price, and of course, our amazing Premier, Kathleen Wynne. To my friends, Marianne, Linda, Shelley, and Paula, and my neighbors, Jack and Joan, who is now gone, Carol and Bill, who is also now gone, Urs, Tess, Jen, Chris, Sonia, and Dave, many people who have been with me for a long time. Thank you for the laughs, and thank you for being there. You are all amazing and wonderful people. Finally, to local supporters, the Honourable Betty Kennedy, Jack Manchisi, who has now passed away, John and Kelly Ayres, Darren, Abbas, the Rizvis, Jennifer Stebbings, Jeff Rolino, Zishan, Parveen, Katie, and Sam, thank you for all your support and hard work. And to the tireless, selfless volunteers who knocked on doors, made countless phone calls, organized rallies, put up lawn signs, and helped me to fill the riding with a positive energy. Thank you. Finally, to my family, Randy, my husband, my son Galen, and our daughter Oriana. I know I would not be standing here today were it not for your endless love and support and belief in me. So thank you. I'd like to leave you now with a tweet that I recently found my daughter had sent out about me this week. She said, "I'm proud of my mother every single day for going from not being able to vote because of the color of her skin to being voted for and winning." So thank you to all of you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for allowing me to address this legislature. I am forever grateful, and I am pleased to be the voice for Halton.